3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Hello, and welcome to Screenplay, the podcast where two professional screenwriters
Debatable.
procrastinate on a microphone. I am one of them. My name is Will, and the other one is there in the background called Kevin. Kevin, hello. How are you?
But you can call me Kev. And this is the show where we take something topical and pick a top 3 from the big and small screen. Will, how are you getting on?
I'm all right. I went to the cinema last weekend, which is always a good thing.
So did I. I went to the cinema in the Real in Cork, and I've not been there for a while. And I have to tell you, Will, the cinema was gorgeous. Recliner seats all over the place. I was in my element. I loved it.
Shh, sexy.
Yeah. Expensive enough, though.
Okay.
A lot more expensive than The View. €14.50, like.
You were probably in what my local would call a director's lounge, and they charge an extra €2 or €3 for these reclining.
I didn't have an option.
Oh,
that was the only
for
screen
that,
it was
maybe
on.
for that one particular screen. You know, I'm sure they have other ones, but yeah. So we have.
So they upsold me without telling me.
Yeah, you've no choice. If you're going at that time, it's on. It's on in that screen.
Oh,
It might be on like in the cheaper screen if you go at a different time.
well, I treated myself and I enjoyed myself, and we both went to see Project Hail Mary, and that's what this episode is riffing off of. This topic, Project Hail Mary and cinematic scientists. Okay. You picked the topic. I was like throwing ones at you. I was like, we could do directing duos, we could do Gosling's filmography, we could do space movies, we could do alien movies. And you were like, no. I was like, all right, okay, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And you said, I want to do scientists. And I said, that's a shit topic, though. Like, that's not going to work as like an episode title. And people tend to listen to episodes based on titles. And you said, fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, all right, okay. Mm-hmm. And so this is Cinematic Scientists, top 3.
And that's why the title of this episode is Go Fuck Yourself. Project Hail Mary, and Go Fuck Yourself. So
you'll be very surprised to know that the episode entitled Guess the Topic didn't really
it's like, what?
lure people in. And that's a fun episode. That's a really fun episode, but I don't know. You have to call a spade, but people saw that and thought, guess the episode, how about you go fuck yourself? And just skipped it.
We just need to game the system and have very, very alluring titles. And
you need questions, I've noticed. And also just keep throwing in Trump.
Oh, really? Oh,
Did Trump see Project Hail Mary?
What the fuck?
I don't think so.
Iran versus the US plus Project Hail Mary?
Oh God, yeah. So that's I because when you start going into science fiction, you could cut it a million different ways, and it's such a big, expensive topic. And I just thought, no, let's be more specific. Let's be specific. And because Project Hail Mary is an adaptation of Andy Weir's book, and it's basically like a pseudo sequel to The Martian, where we have a sciencing the shit out of problems. Oh, let's just do something based on cinematic scientists as protagonists or something like that. That should be the title.
Yeah. So there's kind of different subcategories. Now, I'll be honest with you. There's 2 of mine that I am absolutely rock solid on, of my top 3. The third one I'm a bit wishy-washy on. Not that I don't absolutely love the film, but I don't know how to sort of like, I don't know, pitch it to you. But I'm going with it. But when I was doing the subcategories, you've got like crisis science, blue sky adventurism, social sciences, figuring it out science, inventors and enterprisers, secret geniuses, mad scientists. You're dealing with ethics versus discovery and invention. Then you've got biographies, hagiographies, comedies. And of course, nowadays, we've gotten an awful lot of AI doomsdayers. So I don't know what way you've split the pie, but I've basically eaten the whole thing with my hands. And it's repeating on me.
It's repeating. It looked, yeah, you need to wipe your face there. I, in the last half hour, as I was trying to settle on my
Wow,
top
you've
five.
done a half hour of
I did
research.
half an hour. I did
Wow.
half an hour. I did have a coffee break in the middle, which lasted about 20 to 22 and a half minutes. So, there's
My God.
It's half an hour.
Jesus.
When when we first decided we'd go in this direction, I made a rough, loose list of just like throwing down titles and seeing what were coming to my mind straight away. And then, as I was thinking about it over this morning, a kind of a very loose theory came to mind.
Like a theory of everything?
Kind of a theory of everything. Kind of a theory of everything, right? And
I've never seen that film.
I've rattled down to happiness equals chocolate multiplied by crisps. And that's kind of my theory of everything,
Can I tell you?
Yeah, you can.
It's apparent. It's not. It's not.
I had this, I started to see a real pattern, and it started to get very deep in my head and dark with regard to our Western society and how scientists are depicted in cinema and how that's changed over the 100 years. And I'll get into it. That's what I'll do. I'll get into it as we start talking
Jesus,
about
100 years.
over 100 years, I suppose. We'll discuss it. Before
Did
we
they
get
even
into
believe in science before the fucking the 70s?
this is the thing. This is one of the things that I'll be bringing up, right?
Because here's something that I don't know if it's where your line of thinking is gone. You've got the Michael Bays of the world who believe that scientists are always like basically bureaucrats and stick in the muds. You've got your Armageddons where we'll get a bunch of blue collar fucking truck drivers, we'll send them into space to mind these fucking astronauts. They're all fucking elite scientists. That's the way Michael Bay talks, if you ever hear him. So they kind of view scientists in some of the big blockbusters as boring fuddy-duddies who don't know how to roll their sleeves up and get dirty. So, yeah, it's kind of shifted. I like the movies where the scientists are the heroes.
Well, where my brain was going was that before the first several decades of cinema, where we see scientists as films with scientists as kind of like main protagonists or main players in the stories, they generally are cautionary tales. There's an awful majority of them are tales where you get things like Frankenstein or Dr. Strangelove, where the scientists are like breaking the world,
playing God,
right?
We were more God-fearing.
Yes, we were more God-fearing. And then there was a slow transition in the era that you're talking about, like in the 90s. There was more of a challenge where the God-fearing versus the science-minded started to become more balanced and there was more of a push and pull. And in the 21st century, we see more and more films where the scientists are the heroes, are the problem solvers. And I think there's something to be discussed more upon that. How we see far more films where science is fixing the problem, whereas I think there's an argument to be made where we need to have a balanced conversation between morality and science. That's where I think, because I feel like as a society, we are now in this kind of heading towards this pseudo-feudalist society where we're ruled by technocratic overlords.
Pseudo-feudalist?
Yeah, it's kind of we are heading in that direction back to where we have these technocrat overlords and we're all pretty much peasants.
Heading towards it.
I know, I'm
sorry.
Stuck under we're stuck there.
The whole world is run by about 6 people, like in terms of messaging. And if the truth can't be disseminated equally amongst everybody, we're screwed.
And it feels like we are now in an age, technology and science has moved at such a clip without any restraints of moral discourse with regard to the repercussions of what is happening, that now we are at a place where the morality side of the debate has been lost and we are moving in a direction where it's coming full circle, where we have scientists playing God. I'm talking about society. I'm not talking about movies now. I'm just talking about technology as a kind of a extending the umbrella of the term scientist, or scientist to include technology.
Yeah. But you've got to remember, when you're talking about how the depiction of scientists has changed over the years, you've got to remember as well that World War II, the guys developing the bomb, Oppenheimer, where they should not have pulled on that thread. They still went ahead and did it, and it was a race against the Russians getting the bomb and what have you. So you had a whole Cold War era of filmmakers and storytellers who felt powerless. Were like, why are they building nuclear weapons? Why are they just continually going down that route that's going to wipe us all out? So I can get those filmmakers to want to make stories that scold.
Exactly.
So we both saw Project Hail Mary, and we're going to talk about that. I don't know. This is based on the Andy Weir book that came out in 2021. It was the follow-up to The Martian. I have my feelings on the book, and I feel like this is another Lord of the Rings situation where I'm completely on an island by myself again. And I'm talking about the audiobook. And everyone said, if you don't like the book, you've got to listen to the audiobook. The audiobook is amazing.
Really?
Amazing. Because they do sound effects in it, and everyone knows I hate sound effects. And they kind of give Rocky the alien sidekick, spoilers for the film. There's an alien in it.
Yeah.
They give him a voice, and so he's kind of almost like Johnny Five. Amaze, amaze, amaze.
Worked? Question? Rocky says, a full octave higher than normal. He scampers up his tunnels to the control room bulb. What is Adrian Air? Question? I read the results off the screen, but I can't see the planet's surface. Normally you can see surface of planet from space? Question. If the atmosphere lets light through, yes. Human eyes are amazing organ. Jealous.
And I just found it wore on me. It wore on me. And everyone else I've ever spoken to have all been like, I love the book. The book was amazing. I thought the book was brilliant. The book drove me mad in its insistence on staying chipper all the time. And there was zero characterization of the main character. There was nothing about that guy. He was a complete plot robot. What was your feelings about the book?
I was a huge fan of the book. I was a huge fan of the
Here
book.
we go again.
No, and
is there anything you don't like, Will?
Well, I'll get to it.
Oh, Christ.
You'd be surprised.
You don't need to point at me when you're doing that.
No, what I liked about the book. No, it's funny. It's funny you talk about. You were listening to someone who was narrating the voice narrating that character in a very, very specific voice. Whenever I'm reading books, I have a tendency to cast whoever is the characters in the book. I actually have faces, and I
yourself. You're always the hero.
It's always me, or my entire family. So listen, it didn't bother me, and I can take that point. I thought it was a very enjoyable, popcorny, easy read of a book, where it was like one of those Sunday afternoon experiences of there is a existential problem. We need to fix it, and this is how we're going to go about fix it. Oh no, there's a problem. We're going to work the problem. We're going to figure out a solution. Oh no, the solution didn't work. We've got a new problem, or it did work. We've got a new problem. So I enjoyed the escalation of it. I enjoyed in a time where things feel like absolutely shit and overwhelming, and we feel like the world is drowning. It was actually a balm to read a book where you had someone who was upbeat, even in the face of complete existential peril. I genuinely just found it to be a relief. I found it to be nice to be in his company because he had that upbeat quality to him of okay, we're going to solve this. We'll figure it out. We're going to solve this. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
So for me, none of it actually registers when everything is treated the same way. You can tell me that this is a disaster, but if the guy doesn't feel anything other than of course, it should have done this. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Of course. I just find that is deadening. So this is all just a setup for how I felt about the film.
Okay. But just to go back to that, I think that is kind of why I enjoyed the book, I think. Because...
Did you read the book over the course of a few weeks, a few days, or...
Probably
because I read this thing...
No, I read it like with me with any book I read, it was over the course of a few weeks. I read it maybe 2 years ago. I can understand you feeling that if you're picking it up and you've dropped back into that same sort of good vibes.
It's
good vibes. Yeah.
I listened to the book over the course of about 2 days, and I just got worn down by the insistent tone that it maintained.
Do you want to know something that I was projecting onto my read of the book as well? And I was projecting the film The Martian, onto the read of the book, right? Where what we are hearing is his internal monologue, which is, okay, I'm staying upbeat. That's the way my brain is wired. I'm going to stay upbeat. despite it, everything going completely to shit, and despite this situation being really, really catastrophic and it being insurmountable, but I appreciated that chipperness. It was like, okay, well, we'll just persevere. We're just going to put put another foot in front of us, and we'll just take the next step up. We will solve this problem. We will get there. And I think that's whereas if you use a different camera, you might see a different side of it. You might, rather than being his internal monologue, I was also imagining an external kind of like this cinematic version of it, where I would say, no, this is actually pretty serious, but he's just trying to he's keeping himself positive. He's keeping himself upbeat. The same way that Matt Damon his character was in The Martian. He was like, okay, we're going to science the shit out of this. We're going to make this work. Okay. And he rarely lets the existential dread pierce through or show on the surface.
I think we should probably give people the premise. We've just gone straight into like talking about science shit and now talking about our reaction to the book. We're telling people what the book is kind of about. We're hoping by osmosis people know. Basically, the premise is science teacher Ryland Grace. In the film, he's played by Ryan Gosling. He wakes up on a spaceship light years from home with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory returns, he begins to uncover his mission, which is to solve the riddle of the mysterious substance causing the sun to die out. In the book as well, my God, I was like, if I hear the word astrophage one more time, I am going to stop listening. He must call on his scientific knowledge and unorthodox ideas to save everything on Earth from extinction. Astrophage, by the way, is like a biological organism which eats light. And it's been traveling, it travels through light and it's eating the sun, essentially. He has to save the Earth from extinction because the Earth is cooling, but an unexpected friendship means he may not do it alone. Basically, and this has been in the trailer, he encounters a spaceship where there's an alien like himself that's been sent out to try and solve the same problem because their sun is also being eaten by the same biological organism, astrophage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the premise to it. Directed by Lord and Miller, who the last time they were all over the airwaves was, aside from them doing the Spider-Verse series, which is fantastic, and I can't wait for the third one. They produced that. Very heavily creatively involved. They were fired off Solo, A Star Wars Story, and replaced by Ron Howard, and we all know how that turned out. I'd love to have seen that film, by the way. I'd love to have seen their version of it. Other credits they've done: Last Man on Earth, the TV series, 22 Jump Street, they directed that, the Lego Movie, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they were the creators on that show as well, I think. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Clone High, they've been big operators.
Yeah.
The film has made $306 million at the global box office so far.
Which I'm delighted about. I'm absolutely over the moon that that's the case.
And it's lauded by critics, 95% in Rotten Tomatoes with a 96% popcorn meter, which is basically, that stuff doesn't mean anything. People can game that whatever way they want. Yeah. But ironically, for me, coming in here and just railing against the book, and I have to say it's probably just the way that I consumed it, the way that it was delivered to me by that narrator, it grated on me. And reading it all in one go or over the course of 2 days, I probably I'm complaining. I got stomachache from eating all the cake at the same time. Andy Weir is actually in a similar position to me. He's been called out for criticizing Star Trek, which is also all about blue sky adventurism and scientists. And he went on a podcast, which I am shocked about. He went on a podcast, The Critical Drinker. Have you ever heard of this guy?
The Critical Drinker. I think you've mentioned him. I've never listened to him or read his stuff. So
there is a whole contingent of YouTube podcasters, we'll call them video podcasters.
Right.
The manosphere, we'll say, of the film world. And they've become very, very popular by being part of that chorus of guys that are just hating on female filmmakers, any sort of agenda-driven stories where it's about equality or about diversity. And it's just so bleak, so miserable, and just whipping up this resentment and toxicity constantly. It's a very lucrative path to take. But he went on there talking about Star Trek, and he said all modern science fiction TV shows and movies have been heavily influenced by the original Star Trek, except for the current batch of Star Trek shows. which, it's not too much of a controversial opinion. I think even we'd agree that modern Star Trek is not our preferred Star Trek. So for me, loving Picard season 3.
Stranger Worlds has been fun.
Yeah, he said to the host, the guy that runs that podcast, "You're a little more severe than I am. I'll give you my opinion. I'm just a consumer. I like Stranger New Worlds. That's pretty good. I didn't hate Enterprise. I thought it was kind of weird. Lower Decks I thought was entertaining and fun. All the others, they can go. Aside from Picard season 3, which you probably didn't watch." And here's another thing. I pitched a Star Trek show to Paramount, and I was on Zoom with the showrunners with all the shows and spent a lot of time talking to Alex Kurtzman. He is a really nice guy, but at the same time, those shows are shit. He's a nice guy, but they didn't accept my pitch, so fuck him.
Fascinating.
Okay. Now, I have no idea about the critical drinker, and I'm just wondering as well, when I hear critical drinker, I'm wondering, is that something that has been said after the consumption of a bit of alcohol, where they're been very, very
loose and candid?
And a bit bawdy, and like and they kind of forgot the mics were there, and they're kind of maybe putting a, rather than it being an interview maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm only trying to dig him out.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what he said. He's allowed to have his opinion. He's allowed to say he doesn't like modern Star Trek. He's allowed to think things are shit, and he's allowed to make a joke like that. There's nothing wrong with it. But then Don Winslow, Crime 101 is his latest film that's out, but he's a pretty notable author. He chimed in and he said to Andy Weir on Blue Sky, he said, "Congrats on the success of Project Hail Mary and The Martian. I'm a real fan. But when you have your moment, don't use it to crap on other writers' work. For the record, Alex Kurtzman is a visionary, writer, creator, and producer, and you owe him an apology, writer to writer." And this guy said, whoever the hell he is, he said back to Don Winslow, "That is some sanctimonious bullshit. What are you, the fucking writer, sheriff?" You gotta love the internet. And Don Winslow said back to him, "Writers stand up for one another. It's how and why the Writers Guild was formed, and you don't take your moment in the sun to attack another writer because they didn't buy your pitch." Well, Don Winslow, that's what you're doing right now.
He's an executive.
So, yeah.
People are allowed to say shit. People are allowed, and that's indicative of a free and healthy society, when you can go and air your opinion. And it's not something that's controversial. It's just something he just made a comment of, and I genuinely think it's taken out of context and blown out of proportion. It's something that's casually said, whether it's on a podcast. That's something that's a bit, what's the word? A little bit
jokey.
Yeah.
But look, from a personal side of things, I like when people give their opinions, because what drives me doolally is when everybody agrees on everything or pretends to agree with everything in order to go along with the herd. And I feel like, what are people on about there? I cannot be the only person that thinks this. And obviously you never are the only person that thinks that, but people don't voice their opinions anymore because it's not the done thing to voice an opinion. And you're also going to get people like Don Winslow saying, "Don't you dare tell people what you really think, especially when it's critical of others. You shouldn't be doing that." It's like, come on, man. For me, if I hear somebody saying, "I also don't like Lord of the Rings," I'm like, oh, thank God, I'm not like I'm
alone. Yeah,
a lunatic.
Yeah, you are alone. Yeah. You are. Oh, listen, come here. That's that's for him to say and
disagree agreeably.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. So you said you really liked the film, because I avoided anything that you have said about it.
I hereby grant you top secret clearance to Project Hail Mary.
What's Project Hail Mary?
The sun is dying. If we do nothing, everything on this planet will go extinct. This mission is what you Americans would call a long shot.
Hail Mary. I get it now.
Alright, so Project Hail Mary is not going to be in my top 3 But that's not to say that I didn't adore the film. I thought the film was fantastic. And you were talking about, you liked how it was treating all these problems. It felt like a warm blanket. I'm dealing with a lot of stress and stuff, and I don't want to really get into it because it's boring and it's not the podcast for it. But the film for me was everything I needed in that moment, and it reminded me of why films have mattered so much to me in my life. I've, like, in moments of personal upheaval, you watch a good film and it's like it just takes your mind off things for a while. Mm-hmm. And you spoke about it quite recently. I don't know what episode it was. We were talking about the moments where cinema, you can remember where you were for certain things and where you were in your life, and this film meant that. Yeah. And, you know, talking about like when you learned about the arrival of Luke.
Yeah, I was at the cinema when Karen was in labour. I mean, it's a double feature. Tell her to hold on.
He's here. Who? Fucking your son. All right. I'll be there in about another couple of hours.
I thought you were going to say it was a popcorn guy. Damn it.
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
I can't talk right now. I'm in the cinema. I'll ring you back. So I love the film for that. And also I love the film because it neutralized all the things about the book which grated on me. It balanced out the overly chipper side of the character. Mm. They still have a flaw in the story, which is we don't learn anything about Ryan Gosling's character.
Very little. Very, very little, yeah.
But that's the way he is in the book. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing in the book that they can draw upon, and they didn't invent anything for him. So he is just a guy who is a school teacher who ends up on a spaceship, and things happen exactly as they are in the book. But I loved Sandra Huller's portrayal. I thought she was very, very funny. I loved the look of the film. There's moments in it where it's just visually like arresting. Some of the space scenes. I thought Rocky, the little space guy that he teams up with, is far more affecting in the film. He's basically like a little dog that follows him around. Mm-hmm. The vibe of the film was much more my speed than the book was. And going into it quite stressed and being like, I'll go to cinema, watch a film and sort of like chill out. I adored it. Such crowd-pleasing, affirming, enjoyable film. I got choked up at a couple of moments. I thought it was a joyous cinematic experience. I know it's not a perfect film. I know some people think it's 20 minutes too long. I don't agree. Film is subjective at the best of times, but for me at that moment, I thought this is a 5-star film and I loved it.
Okay.
What did you think of it?
That's really good. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting to hear that. I saw it with Luke, and I thought this would be a good one to bring Luke to see because I think he's going to.
Are you going to shit on it? I hope you're going to shit on the film.
I went. I think when we were talking about our films that we were most looking forward to or most anticipating in this year.
Oh yes.
This was up there for me. I think it was in my top 3 of those films.
It was.
I feel, or if I'm recalling, one of the things I said was, I hope Lord and Miller bring some of their humor and their sensibilities to this story. And we got that in bucket loads because there's a very cute relationship between Ryan Gosling's character and Rocky. Seeing Ryan Gosling's character pretty much have a breakdown early on and just go straight for the vodka is great crack. And I think it's stuff that's in the book, but that is not brought out in the book.
No, the character in the film is far more fraught. Like he cries 2 or 3 times in the film, and he doesn't have that emotional response. The way it's written is like, I wept, I got back up, I did whatever. But when you see somebody going through it, you feel it more.
That's going back to my point of the book is very much his insular voice and how he's projected. So when the filmmakers are going to that moment, they're going, oh, he said he wept. Well, what the fuck is that like? You know, and if you go to an external, the third person view of that, you actually see, oh, him actually weeping. We'll dig into that a little bit more. So I think they made absolutely the right decision in just bringing out the sense of existential dread that he's experiencing and bringing that more to the fore and making him more human, which I think is just, it's implied in the book. We just don't get it in the text.
Book is just too glib for any of that to register.
Yeah, there's a glibness to it. I loved all of the Earthbound scenes with Sandra Huller, as you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought they were fantastic. I loved the fact that they really went to the extra leg of making him a coward, a complete coward, and that's kind of his arc as someone who's afraid to step up to the plate and actually take a leap.
It's in the book as well. The book is dual timelines. You're flashing back and you're cutting between him setting off on the mission and him actually on the mission. But he's recalling things, so things are coming back to him. It's like, how do I know this? Why do I know this? But what I thought was really interesting about the film structure is that he doesn't start off knowing that he's a coward, and it comes back to him. And I thought that's an interesting way to look at somebody. Is like, are you programmed to feel a certain way, or is it your personal experiences that make you that way? Because he's just getting on with things. He's doing things while he's there. And then it's almost like a shocking reveal to realize that how he got on the mission was he had to be drugged and he tried to flee and they tackled him down and they injected him. And
I love that whole thing. Yeah, that was a great scene.
Reveal, yeah. But the other thing I was going to say is I don't think there's any other actor that could charm me as much in this kind of a film as Ryan Gosling. Like if you think of all the other current actors that are out there, I don't think anyone else could have
called Ryan. Do you imagine the other Ryan doing this? And I'd be like, I just would be. I'd be quite happy to hit the
eject button.
To open the space dock door.
Cock juggling thunder cunt.
I didn't enjoy it as much as you enjoyed it.
Thunder cunt.
Okay, and I'm putting that down to. I really want to.
Give me a level here. Like, what are you saying?
This is where I want to get into it.
Question.
I saw all of the beats of the book played out on screen. Pretty much, not 100% every, but it was fairly faithful to like the plot of the book. What I felt happened when it came to the space stuff, and this is where I feel like I need to watch it a second time because I couldn't tell if the mixing in the screening that I watched it was a little bit off, because there were times where when Rocky was speaking, I found it hard to actually hear what he was saying. So that might be my actual screen specific experience. Okay, there was like
that's your cinema.
It could have been my cinema, right? But what I felt was when it came to a lot of the space action, I felt it was rushed through. Like, it was like basically each sequence kind of went. There's a problem, we're solving the problem. Problem solved. There's a new problem, we're solving the problem. Problem solved. Which is dealt with.
That's so funny because that's the fucking book.
Yeah, but no. But it's missing a couple of beats that are in the book, that are in The Martian, which is okay. We have a problem. How are we going to fix this problem? Let's try and fix this problem. Oh shit, the fix didn't work. It either got worse or there's another way we can fix it and we solve that problem. So it felt like it rushed through the problem solving bits of it, that it felt more like a montage to me. And I think that's probably a result of it being so faithful to the book that it actually took all of the specific beats and pretty much, executed all of them. Not 100%, but very close to it. Whereas I in my heart felt, I probably feel they probably needed to cut couple of these beats to elevate and give room to the drama.
What beats are you talking about?
Question.
Let's say, for instance, the beat where they have to go fishing. This is just using an example, right? The bit where they have to create a chain and, grab some material from an atmosphere,
Where they build like
a rope.
A few miles of chain.
Yeah. And it was also kind of maybe how the score is quite understood. I've been listening to the score, and the score itself in isolation is actually really good. I'm really enjoyed listening to it by Daniel Pemberton. But I felt in how it was layered onto the film, it didn't amplify.
I didn't get that, no, Will. I loved the music. I loved the sound design. I didn't have any issues with the sound. Remember now, you're in a shithole cinema in Donegal.
No, this is why I'm truthfully saying, I'm putting my caveat in this on here, saying maybe I need to watch it again and actually see it again. I want to see it with in a different circumstance. Maybe it was the screening I was in.
Come down to Cork.
But I truly felt like it was those big awe-inspiring scenes, which I felt should pack a punch, kind of felt a little bit. They underplayed it. They kind of underplayed it and didn't go that they didn't elevate the drama as much as I expected from a cinematic point of view. We'll say again, might have been my individual.
It was
experience. It might have been.
It was you.
It might have been like you. Like, but funnily enough, it's kind of like mirroring your experience with the book, where you. No, listen, I wasn't annoyed by this film at all. I was willing this film to be great and whatnot. I also found visually, it was so dark. There was times when we were out in space.
No, Will.
I was really...
Oh, yeah, well, the space stuff. But also the beautiful, like, tapestry that they create, that beautiful purple, like, spacescape. That was gorgeous. That was so awe-inspiring. I thought the film was beautifully made. Like, I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
I know. Bitch. I know. Maybe I genuinely think...
But what's your star rating? Like, question? I need to know how you feel so I can sort of like...
I gave it 3.5 stars.
People think I'm a horrible cunt.
That's mediocre.
You fucking bitch.
I gave it 3.5 stars because I went in with really high expectations. And it's a tentative 3.5 stars because I truly feel...
So 3.
No, because it's not a 3, because I admired it. I enjoyed an awful lot of it. Oh, he thought it was great. He came out of it going... I was saying, there was this other... It's kind of like there was this other book called The Martian that was made into a movie as well. And he said, I think I want to read that. I'd like to read that book, so I'm going to get him The Martian, which is kind of cool.
Were you sitting in the car like stewing? He said, I love that. And you're like...
No, I wasn't. No.
You don't realise it's actually not as good as the book.
And I don't... I think it's better than the book in a lot of ways. It's better than the book in...
It is better than the book. It is better than the book.
In an awful lot of ways.
But can I say something? Yeah. Like, I went into this thinking I can't stand that book. I have a habit of like going hyperbolic when I'm like a hyperbolics. Like
I love that. We've got to coin that. Kevin's going hyperbolics on us. Oh God.
That's a callback to when I said that in the past on the podcast. You said the exact same thing.
What?
Fucking sundowning.
What? I've never heard you say that before. I've never just say that you've said hyperbolic in the past, but I've never heard hyperbolics. And it's now I'm logging.
Yes, I have.
Oh my God, I'm logging it. I'm going to.
And you were like, "That's amazing. We've got to use that." You said the exact same. I bet if there's a way to basically like Google transcripts of the podcast, you'll see I've said that on the best bits, and you were like, so I was going to call back to that. Anyway, when I say I couldn't stand the book, I finished the book. If I couldn't stand it, I wouldn't have finished it. I just found the way that certain things were executed in the book grated on me. So I'm exaggerating my dislike of the book, but I did go into the film thinking it's got to be better than the book, and it was. Whereas you went into it going like, I love the book, I hope it's as good as the book, and it let you down. So it is that thing of like, if you go in with high expectations, you're only going to get disappointed. If you go in with low expectations, there's more of a chance that you're going to be impressed. And of course, then also if you're going into it like where you're basically in a state of high stress, then anything that's not the immediate problems you're dealing with, it's like, oh thank God, somebody's like dealing with all their problems is amazing, and they've got a little Rocky friend.
Listen, it's still very good.
I would say absolutely go to the cinema and watch it.
And you know what? I'm seconding that. I genuinely think it's well worth the cinema trip. I think I might be subjective on this one. I'm definitely going to watch it again as soon as I possibly can, just to get a second read on it. And also, maybe it was my screen, because there was times I felt when we were in space, I felt...
were you actually looking in the right direction?
Maybe.
Were you not like sitting and looking in the corner and going like,
no one told me
focus.
No one told me to open my eyes.
Focus!
I just closed my eyes for the trailers, and I said, Luke, just tell me when the trailers are over. He didn't tell me when the trailers were over, so he
shifted seats. He moved.
That's what it was. He went to something else. It's a very good film, and looking forward to watching it again.
And I'm never going to watch it again. I've seen it. I enjoyed it, and that's it. You leave it in the past. You can never go home again.
So,
fantastic film. It's probably going to get a Best Picture nomination. It deserves it. Sandra Huller is such a great actress. She is so deadpan, so funny in this film.
Yeah.
Where she's almost more of an alien than Rocky is. Go into it in a state of personal existential crisis, and you'll love the film. So that's
all you need to do. Just put the right conditions in place before you walk in, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
By the way, spoilers for Project Hail Mary.
Did we go that bad? And I don't know if we did. Where does your brain go to when you started thinking about
Okay.
this? Just when I gave you, okay, well, let's go for our favorite films featuring scientists or scientists as protagonists in cinema.
My brain went to Christ. Okay, right. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll figure out my scientist. I don't know. Doc Brown. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's where I went.
Right.
What about you?
I went, okay, what the fuck? Why did I mention this? But then my brain went to straight away. I went to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I was like, that's in my head. It's sometimes considered the origin of the sci-fi genre. And I went, okay, it's man behaving like God, creating life. This is one of those stories where science shouldn't be utilized. We should all stay like cavemen and not do things. So I just started to follow. I was like in my head just trying to grasp at films that I was like, okay, we have the Frankensteins out there, but then look, go to contemporary times. We have like Martian, like it's very much scientists are solving the problem, saving the earth, saving themselves, and modern times it's all very, very positive. We had films like Silent Running, where we had the only human character in the entire film is a botanist.
Okay, so when I was thinking of this, I was like, you've got scientists who are not really scientists, they're just called scientists. It's sort of like the overcoat that's put on the character for them to get into a certain kind of far-fetched fantasy science fiction story. And then you've got the hard science, the Oppenheimers, the Christopher Nolan Oppenheimer movie, where this is about what actually happened and it's about characters doing science, versus Interstellar, which is like scientists discovering that love is the key to everything in temporal relativity.
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
What would you call it? Codology. It's like junk science. It's bullshit science. The characters are scientists. It's like Doc Brown. Doc Brown is a scientist. He's a mad scientist or whatever. But that's all bullshit. You can't travel back in time in a fucking DeLorean. So I don't know whether that counts. But I guess it does.
Cinematic does. Scientists. Yeah, he's kind of like he's not the like main protagonist, but he's one of the main protagonists in that story.
But in my mind, because I get fixated on these types of things, this is like you saying we're gonna do like an episode about pets, favorite pets, and I'm here thinking, well, you've got what's that dog that died that everyone was crying over?
Cujo.
Yes. So you've got No, that one, not Lassie, the one, Marley and Me. You've got Marley.
Go on.
What?
I'm not going to say it.
So you've got, say it.
No, I'm not going to say it. Jesus Christ, to be a bad, I'll start to, I'll keep going. Move on. I can't.
I know you're going to say, you're going to talk about my fucking dog.
No, I actually forgotten about that. You forgot about poor Rosie. Didn't bring up poor Rosie. No, I wasn't going to say poor Rosie. I was going to say something totally different. Please. He's gone. I'm going to lose him. I am actually going to lose him.
You're not.
It's just...
So you say we're going to do an episode about pets, and I'm thinking, well, we can do Marley and Me, or we can do Lassie, or we can do fucking Rin Tin Tin, or we can do Gizmo. But no, Gizmo's a monster. Gizmo's not a real pet. So that's the way I'm going with this.
Okay.
It's like, these are not scientists, but they're called scientists. Which is more valid?
That's fine. And I've kind of gone, these are kind of scientists by profession. I've kind of like, oh no, that's an actual scientist, and these are movies where we have actual scientists. And I kind of discounted, I didn't include astronauts because a part of me was like going, oh, you could go that way, or like stuff like Apollo 13. And they're not, they're astronauts. That's what they are. They weren't scientists, but it is problem solving.
Now that you've brought that up, I think this is a good moment for me to ask, what's a scientist?
Oh God! Scientist he uses scientific methods as to solve things and make shit, and it's a really on the spot type of question that I cannot answer right now. But I would say
it's your topic.
But you're asking me what is a scientist? Scientist is someone who
I was joking.
But what is a scientist? I'm actually going to have to Google what is the definition.
Different disciplines in science. Got
of course.
Your physics guys, and your chemistry guys, and your biology guys.
Google AI.
By the way,
Google AI, which just I just put it into Google, and Google AI says a scientist is someone who tries to understand how the world works by testing ideas against evidence. So that's essentially
one of the worst decisions I ever made in my life was doing chemistry for my Leaving Cert, because I was very good at science.
Sure, Dan.
Okay.
Up until the Junior Cert. So Junior Cert's like you're 15 when you do your Junior Cert in Ireland. And science is one of my good subjects, but that's where they're all bunched together. It's biology, chemistry, and physics are all together. And it was just enough for me to grasp, like get my head around it. And when I was trying to work out what subjects I should do for my Leaving Cert, why did I let 15-year-olds decide these things?
Yeah.
I should have done the easy subjects. I should have done history and I should have done geography.
History,
everyone that did those subjects
just got
fucking
A's. Yeah.
They sailed through it. That would have been so easy for me. And I just thought, no, I'll stick with the subjects I'm good at. And I did chemistry and I did biology.
So hard.
And fuck me. You had about a week to change your mind. And of course, they kind of don't throw you in the deep end immediately. The first couple of classes is like, how's everybody getting on? Where's everybody from? Blah, blah, blah. And then the week is up and I'm like, I need to get out of this class. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. Too late. So I kind of sunk myself.
Yeah.
Chemistry for my Leaving Cert. I hadn't a fucking hope.
Yeah. I was in a similar boat, actually. Similar boat. Oddly enough, like we're getting really broad. I have a bachelor's degree in science. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. So that's a science. You're talking about, like, you know, there's all different types of disciplines of science, but, like, you know, computer science is a science.
Is that kind of like a defunct degree at this stage now? It's like having a bachelor's in fucking lamp lighting. It
almost disintegrated as I walked out of the ceremony where I got my degree. It all becomes so outdated and so. But I suppose, you know, from a point of view, you have an understanding, a baseline understanding of like how all these languages work. Like, but anyway, I'm not going to get into it.
Do you see the delusion?
When I did a list of science-based movies or movies where the characters are scientists, it was a broad swathe of films. You've got, as you were saying, you're disregarding astronauts, but Gravity was in there, Sunshine, Interstellar, Annihilation, The Theory of Everything, A Beautiful Mind, Jurassic Park. I mean, come on, you can't really... Paleontology, it gets lumped in there.
Yeah.
Ex Machina, Primer, Moon, all the Star Trek movies, they are basically explorers, scientists in space. Outbreak, 12 Monkeys, The Abyss, Pi, Cube, Hidden Figures, Transcendence, Upgrade. Like they span all genres and all approaches. And I found it a struggle to get my top 3, but I do know my top 2.
Let's do it.
Okay.
How easy did you find making your top 3?
Very difficult.
Let's quickly get into our top 3.
Yeah, very, very, very quickly. We need to. I found it very difficult because as you said, there's so many great films that do have, like, you know, you would Jurassic Park. Could easily say, look, well, Jurassic Park, you paleontologist, that would have to be in your top 3. And I then ended up saying, well, actually, hang on a second. When I started to think about the ideas of, like, you know, the old school scientists who shouldn't enact science, the scientists who are problem solvers and are making the world better, or scientists who are challenged in some sort of way, I kind of started to break it down and figure out, what type of films are out there that are...
What do you believe in?
We're asking, what do you believe in? For instance, this isn't the only... Project Hail Mary isn't the only film that Lord and Miller made. You already mentioned Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which is such an entertaining film. I don't know if you have seen it.
I think I've seen it. Doesn't that actually rain meatballs? I have seen that film.
Yes. Well, not just meatballs, all sorts of food. It is great crack. It has that Lord and Miller...
number 3?
It's an honourable mention. It's a great crack.
I have seen that. I can't remember much of it. But if we're doing honourable mentions, I'm claiming, give me Jurassic Park. I'll take that and Back to the Future. That'll be another honourable mention. And I suppose it's Stellar. That'll be my honourable mentions. Okay. What's your number 3?
Number 3.
My number 3, actually, you just mentioned, is Interstellar. It is Interstellar. and I kind of discounted. I didn't include astronauts. I didn't love it as much when I saw it in the cinema, but when I've watched it subsequent,
I remember talking to you. I went to see that at the. I went to see a live orchestra version of that at the Royal Albert Hall, where Hans Zimmer was doing the orchestration, and the whole docking sequence with the guy on the organ playing it.
Oh,
the exertion of that! It's like a 12-minute sequence, and the orchestra's like playing him along, where the whole focus is on the organist. Fuck the energy it takes. The rapturous applause that the guy got at the end of the docking sequence, where it locks together. The music in that film is sensational,
incredible. It really is. And I saw that when I
see that live. Oh, goosebumps!
I would genuinely go out of my way to try and have that experience that you had. I think it's an amazing science fiction film that's based on real world science. It is one of those examples of a film where I know that what you started off with, that, oh, love is the solution, love is the answer. It's a little bit
cheesy.
It's a little bit cheesy, right? But the intent, I think, is very, very good. And it's playing into the idea that I was proposing earlier on, that yes, science will get us really, really far. But I truly believe that humanity, or another sense of moral connection or a moral responsibility to other people, will be needed, had to go along hand in hand to get us to the other end of this destruction, whatever it is, or facing eternal existential crisis.
I don't think that what he's saying in that film is that much of a stretch. You can have an aversion to it because it's so earnest, and it's almost the most earnest thing that Nolan's ever done. But it's dealing with quantum consciousness, and the whole film is about quantum mechanics and wormholes and things like that. So you can give him that, where it's like, we cannot quantify the force of things that we don't understand. We can't quantify consciousness. We don't know where it comes from. We don't know how it exists or even why it exists. They can break down certain things where it can say it's just the brain's function of higher reasoning and what have you. But science cannot grapple with that. And love is an extension of consciousness.
Yeah.
So, like, to use it as an energy force and a way to map your way through temporal space or whatever, I don't think it's that much of an insulting prospect to base a film on.
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
Some of the visuals in Interstellar, they kind of replicate them in Project Hail Mary, that sort of tapestry of like 4D sort of like version of space. I was like,
I know what you mean.
Reminds me of
when he goes into
reminds me of Interstellar.
Yeah, not to spoil it, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I had the same idea, absolutely. It's a film that has grown on me since I first watched it, because I did that earnestness was something that kind of like jarred me in the cinema when I watched it. But now when I watch it, I've watched it at repeated viewings, maybe after becoming a parent or whatever, genuinely I feel it's really, really powerful. That line, I'd love if there was a rewrite on that line.
I think that's the problem with the film, is that line, he took the subtext and made it a line of dialogue. And I think if they phrase it another way, it's like we don't know how to quantify the energy that we feel towards people, and never mentioned love. I don't know.
What amazes me is, it's really earnest, but it's like that science and scientists take us right to the edge of the known universe, right up to the black hole. But to get us to cross over the line, which is something that needs to happen, it needs a leap. There's a leap of faith needed, and something else, something more spiritual needed to cross the gap. And to what you're saying, I love what you're saying about that kind of quantum physics of it, or the quantum kind of emotional physics of it, is really a really powerful string to pull on. And I think it's blending science and morality. So it's my number 3.
It was actually going to be an honorable mention for me as well. But I will say one other thing. You sent me a podcast just recently that was talking about where ideas come from.
Yeah.
The telepathy tapes, I think the podcast is called. Yeah. And it was just echoing everything that I've said to you in the past, where I do believe in a sort of a woo-woo-ness to writing, where ideas will come to me and I don't feel like I'm the creator. I feel like I'm a conduit. And if I don't lock in on that and get it down now, it's going to pass me by and go to somebody else. And that whole collective consciousness thing, I do think there's some validity to it. I know that I can't back it up because you're almost getting into spiritualism when it comes to creation. But I do feel like I've had a personal experience of so many times of just ideas coming to me where I couldn't logically think my way to that, and solutions coming to me where I couldn't logically backtrack how I got to that solution. It's almost divine intervention, and it's happened so many times where I do believe there's something to it. And so stuff like that where you're talking about consciousness and feelings and emotions and that energy in itself of why we have empathy, why we have love, it's not as alien a concept to me. I am open to the idea that there is a shared collective consciousness and that ideas are out there in the ether and that there's something to it.
Yeah, it reframed it. It was actually wonderful. Maybe it was woo-woo-ness, but there was something very liberating about how they framed these ideas, that your ideas are independent of us. You know, that.
But I've said that exact same thing to you, and I'm surprised you're not like saying to me right now.
You said
you were the one.
You were the one. Ideas are floating around, Kevin. It's not. You were just holding on to that idea. You said it to me. It didn't connect, and now this other person said it to me. And it was like, oh wow, that's really good. I listened to it on that podcast. But also,
you're the hyperbolics, not me.
Hyperbolics. What's your number 3?
Number 3.
My number 3 is Ghostbusters.
It's honourable mention for me. It's an honourable mention for me.
There you go.
All the different corners of different types of scientists. You have the...
Yes.
I think Bill Murray... Peter Spengler would be like a tech bro. That's what he would be like.
Ghostbusters came out in 1984. It's made $295 million. It's made a load of sequels. I don't like any of the sequels. Ghostbusters 2, I have a very strong sense memory of going to see Ghostbusters 2. I kind of like it for the nostalgia of it, but it's not as good of a film. Everybody's seen Ghostbusters. Almost everybody loves Ghostbusters. I was looking at the list and thinking, I'm going to be talking about things that I've spoken about before in the podcast. I don't know how to get around it. It's just kind of like, I know we've talked about Ghostbusters in the past. I don't need to reiterate it too much here, but it's 3 eccentric scientists start a ghost-catching business in New York City, battling supernatural forces while dealing with skepticism and a looming apocalyptic threat. They captured lightning in a bottle with that film. It's kind of a perfect movie. Like, I don't know what you could point at and go, do that better. Everything sort of works. And on my list, I was like, this is the one that I'm less sure about including, because I was saying to you, codology, like cod science, bullshit, and not Oppenheimer.
Totally acceptable, and it's on the list.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
There was one that I've never mentioned on the podcast before, and it's astronauts, but I just want to mention it because I've never mentioned it before, and it's absolutely amazing. There was a documentary on Apollo 11 that came out a couple of years back, maybe 10 years back. I have it on Blu-ray. All it is footage from the Apollo 11 mission. They shot it in 70mm. It was like NASA shot a whole load of footage on 70mm, which had been kept in storage for decades. It was resurrected, and the filmmaker stitched together to make this beautiful film. Really, really, really stunning film. I'm recommending Apollo 11. You got to see it.
Number 2.
My number 2 is a film that you've mentioned in the past. It is
Grabbers.
Arrival.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's Arrival. I think
that's on my list.
Okay. What's
if
your
it's
number
on my
2?
list and it's not my number 2, Arrival is my number 1.
Okay. Do you want to know something? Up until like 20 minutes before this, it was my number 1 as well. So it actually, we're in the same path. Like genuinely was a number 1, and at the last minute I went, you know what? I'm going to put this one up there because I haven't spoken about my number 1. What's your number 2?
Let's talk about it now. Let's talk about Arrival now. Let's hold some mystery back.
There are days that define your story beyond your life. Like the day they arrived.
The reason Arrival is my number 1, but I was reticent about putting it on there, is because I spoke about this when we did... What did we do? What episode was it? Was it time travel? I think we did time travel.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
And go back and listen to our time travel episode of The Best Bits to get an idea of why I love this film. Also, that's a crazy episode. That's where we actually time traveled on that episode. We went and time traveled all over the place.
Yeah.
Arrival for me is a gorgeous film. Came out in 2016. It's made $200 million at the box office. Directed by Denis Villeneuve. Writer Eric Heiser. Based on a story by Ted Chiang. The story is when mysterious alien spacecraft appear across Earth, a linguist is recruited to communicate with the extraterrestrials, leading to a discovery that challenges human perception of time and reality. So I had written a project that trucked in the same space as the main conceit of Arrival, and I avoided watching it for the longest time because I thought, I don't want to watch something which is a version of what I was writing and sort of feel like, I wrote something like that. Then I saw the film and I thought, do you know what? To experience the best possible version of the idea that I had that was so much better than I had executed, I thought it was actually really cathartic and I adored it. And I thought, I've experienced many times in the past where I've written something, actually 7 times, and this happens to a lot of writers, where I've written something, full projects, at least 7 times that are very, very similar to something that gets made. And I had written it before those projects existed and I couldn't get them off the ground because of the nature of the alchemy that is required for projects to happen. And it's gutting when that happens. It's gutting when it's like, I wrote that story before they did and my story is actually better than that. And they've gotten there and know my project is dead, and you can't really prove it to anybody. It's like, if only. But in the case of Arrival, it was like, that is so much better than the version that I had, even though it's quite similar, that it felt very healing to experience the best version of the story that I had. And so I didn't resent it. I was like, I'm glad that story got told in the way that I was also trying to tell it, and it was fantastic. And of course, my ignorance played a factor in that, because if I'd read Ted Chiang's short story or his novella, I would have realised that I was trucking in a space that had already been explored. So Arrival is my number 1 because I think it's a perfect film. And when it deals with science, it's a very intelligent portrayal of a smart person not only using their brain to save humanity and to create first contact in a way that is really exciting and wonderful to witness, but it's also a very emotional story, and it's beautifully done, and Amy Adams is fantastic in it. So it was my number 1 and your number 2.
It's an amazing film. It really is. And I loved it because it was an example of somewhat of a bit science trumped violence. And it was another example of how science can reshape how we think about the world for the better. And there's also a big sacrifice that Amy Adams has to pay in learning what she learns. That is such an emotional gut punch that I felt glued to my seat even as the credits rolled. It took me a moment to gather myself to leave the cinema after it. It's such an amazing. He's got such an amazing visual sensibility, Denis Villeneuve, but it had such a powerful emotional core. I thought it was a standout, incredible film. Really, really powerful. Loved it so much.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Really, really fantastic. Why isn't it your number 1?
I think Arrival's better than my number 1. What's your number 2?
Number 2.
My number 2 is The Fly.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
Oh, okay. It's an honorable mention for me. Yeah. There's an example of scientists playing God.
And it's the remake, the 1986 version with Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. It made $60 million worldwide on a $50 million budget. Directed by David Cronenberg, writer Charles Edward Pogue, based on a short story by George Langeland. I've never seen the original Fly. I only know it through clips, where it's like, help me, help me, help me, the squeaky little voice of the fly at the end.
Yeah.
Is it Vincent Price? The Vincent Price film. You know my taste in films. It might surprise some people because I don't like body horror. It's not a thing for me that I get a kick out of. And this film is absolutely grotesque. But at the same time as it being really grotesque, it is very romantic, and it's about a man falling apart as he's falling in love and becoming this monstrous creation of his own design, and this obsession, and as a character study and as a gothic romance, it's fantastic. Like, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's remarkable that it works as well as it does. It's got an amazing score. It looks great. It's my favorite David Cronenberg film, like heads and tails above everything else. All of his other stuff I find very, very cold and very like the transhumanism stuff that he tends to deal with, or the body horror stuff that he tends to deal with. But they're not films that I would hold dear. Whereas The Fly is just character study and romance.
Yeah.
And it nails all these very idiosyncratic aspects, melds them all together, and creates this incredible concoction that I don't think anyone else could have done, and I would have liked it. That production, I just think it's I mean, you're dealing with mad scientists or super geniuses or all that kind of stuff, you know, playing God. This was easily like in my list. It was the first one I wrote down on my top 3. I was like, oh, well, The Fly is one of them.
It immediately jumped onto my list. I think it's great. It's an honorable mention. It's one of those films. You know, how many times one of our, I suppose, cliches or drums that we bang is like, oh, Will's not the horror guy. But I loved this film when I was a kid. I watched this film a lot. I don't know how I watched it. Did I have it recorded on videotape or something like that? But I watched it several times. The production design of the device, the transportation device, is so, it's Aliens-esque or H.R. Giger-esque in its kind of, it has this almost beehive-y type of feel to it. There's something quite... there's something quite terrifying, but also quite alluring about the design of it, and I think that's it epitomized how I feel about the film. I like looking at it, but it's very, very unnerving. Do you want to know what my number one is?
Number one.
Yeah, go on.
Taking it to, I'm generally lean towards the films that came out in that zone where I was really getting into cinema, and I just thought, you know what?
Can I guess it? Can I guess it?
I bet you can.
It's going to be Back to the Future.
Nope.
All right, I'm going to give you a list of ones I think it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say yes or no.
Uh-huh.
I think The Abyss will be on there. I think one of the Star Treks could be on there. I don't think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids will be on there. Definitely not Jurassic Park. You don't like that film. Could be Close Encounters. I'm going to say it's one of those.
You're not right.
Oh, Christ. Then what could it be?
Yeah.
But you're saying it's in that period of where you were watching films.
It's probably later than that, I suppose. It's in the 90s.
Oh, well, then that changes it. That changes everything.
The 90s.
Oh, in the 90s, you've got Sunshine, you've got Contact. Oh, God. What else? Flubber.
Damn it, you got it. God damn it. Oh, my God.
Gattaca. Outbreak, 12 Monkeys. Sphere. I don't know. What is it?
You actually have mentioned it. It's 1997.
Okay. Gattaca.
Contact.
This morning's detection of an unidentified radio source from deep space can neither be confirmed nor denied.
Whatever it is, it ain't local.
Position?
I checked interferometry somewhere in Lyra, I think.
Vega? Can't be. It's only 26 light years away.
I want all these people out of here.
Your having sent this announcement all over the world may well constitute a breach of national security.
Well, this isn't a person-to-person call. This may be an announcement to get our attention.
The president's called an emergency meeting.
You know those interlaced frames that we thought were noise? This has structure.
I'm going to recommend to the president that we militarize this project immediately.
There's no reason to believe that their intentions are hostile.
There's no proof of that.
Why don't they just speak English?
Mathematics is the only truly universal language, Senator. Buried within the message itself is the key to decoding it.
Those look like engineering schematics, almost like blueprints.
It is our belief that the message contains instructions for building some kind of machine.
A machine?
It might turn out to be some kind of a transport.
Transport? The fact is, you don't know what it does. It could be anything.
Nobody's saying this isn't dangerous.
They're gonna build it.
Who gets to go, though?
It's complicated, Ellie.
Who gets to go?
By doing this, you're willing to risk your life. You're willing to give your life and die for this. Why?
Contact. Okay.
Yes.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. It's one of those films that when I saw it in the cinema, I just thought, this is... It doesn't all stick to the landing.
I get why you've changed it to your number one, because of the way you started this episode, talking about theology and talking about science.
Yes.
So you are working on a theme here.
Yes.
See, this is the way Will's mind works. He thinks,
yes,
I'll unify the whole thing and I'll bring it all back to dealing with people playing God.
Yes.
People, because that's what that film is all about, with Matthew McConaughey as a reverend. And
it's about faith and belief and debate between science or God. And ultimately, humans need to find meaning and understanding in our existence, whether it's through the data of science or a belief in a deity out there. I think it as itself is an absolutely riveting, entertaining blockbuster popcorn movie that's dealing with very, very big ideas. Its origin comes from Carl Sagan, who was a renowned astrophysicist. He was one of the guys who was behind the golden disc that's on the Voyager probe that's hurtling out of our solar system right now. So he is like one of the big notable names in astrophysics and thinking about the world. And this was his idea. This was his story. So he had written this as, I believe he'd written it as a book. It was optioned very, very quickly be featured. This is back in the early 80s. It was one of those films.
Did he die before it got produced? Did he just die? I think his wife spoke about
and Duran,
how much it would have meant to him.
Yeah. So he passed away, I think, before the film came out. It was a film that was kicking around the studios for well over a decade. At one stage, George Miller was attached to it for the longest time. And I think even Robert Zemeckis actually had passed on it. Then George Miller came on board, had done various drafts on it. And I think Zemeckis dropped it because he was going to do a Harry Houdini movie or something like that.
He wrote that beautiful piece of writing about the blue dot with that famous photograph that was taken.
That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
Every interruption of every podcast.
Yeah, every interruption. I've got Chloe with me and she's trying to tell me something.
I do think that every single problem this world has ever faced, will ever face, and every issue that we deal with in our lives, it can all be solved by something that is free for all of us to utilize. And it's just be kind. I know it sounds incredibly trite, but if you can just be kind to yourself and be kind to other people, and if other people can be kind to you, then every single fucking problem that we're dealing with in this world would just be eradicated. And it's just, it seems beyond us. But just go through life being kind. And the other thing I'll say is, there was a woman, I was watching this TikTok. I'm always watching TikTok at night, and I'm eating into your time because I know you've got Chloe mopping about. But I'll say this one thing.
Yeah.
This woman was talking about that her parents, when she had kids, they never helped her out. They weren't there for her. They were just terrible grandparents. And she realized that they were also very cold parents. And she recounted the story of, when she was about 7 or 8, her friends were going to a cafe, and it dawned on her that her parents were mean. And she asked them if she could have 50 pence to buy a can of Coke to go to the cafe with them. And her mother said no. And her dad said no. And her mother said to her, "You're just going to have to stand and wait outside." And she was bereft by that. And her older sister's boyfriend came over. And he said, "What's wrong? What's the matter with you?" And she said, "My mom won't give me money for a can of Coke at the cafe." And he fished into his pocket and took out every bit of change he had and gave it to her. And this woman must have been 60. And it reiterated for me that in life, every single time anyone has ever been kind to you and it's been unexpected, you remember it. And a compliment that came out of nowhere, you remember it. It stays with you.
Yeah.
Also, whenever anyone's been cruel or been like mean to you, you remember it.
Yeah.
You can recall every single encounter you've ever had where someone was just nasty to you.
Yeah.
And it took you by surprise. But you can also remember when people have been kind to you. And I really wish that we all could just get it into our heads. If you've got that choice and they're both free to you, it doesn't cost you anything. Just be kind to somebody. Because that woman could recall that boyfriend who's not part of her life and hasn't been for 40 years. That one gesture stuck with her. And she'll carry that right to the very end of her life. And it's like, and as Carl Sagan's saying, this tiny little dot that we're on. Anyway, that was the guy who birthed Contact.
The debate around Contact is a lot of people think it doesn't stick the landing, and you can kind of argue that it does because it's a bit wishy-washy. But that's also part of the point of the message of the film, is that you have a character who has absolute faith and belief in science and driven by data, and she ends up in a position and challenges anyone who believes in anything else. And asking him, saying, "Well, prove you are God, prove this." And she is forced to be in a position at the end of the movie where she has been asked to prove what she's experienced, but she can't prove it. I know maybe it's reductive and it's minimalist, but what I like about the film now is that it's a dialogue between different ideologies and different schools of thinking. People who are on opposite ends of points of view, they can come together and they can actually form an interesting and educated dialogue, a push and pull on something that's really important to humanity, but move forward together. And I think in this day and age, to what you're saying about kindness and being nice to each other, we can have all the tech in the world, we can have all of the science in the world, and all of the weapons in the world, but if we are not kind to each other and have some degree of morality and humanity about us, then we are screwed. We are absolutely screwed. So we need to lean into that more and more. And that's kind of why Contact bumped up on my list. I just went, you know what? There's something here about Contact that I think
it's pure fantasy, no?
I can use.
Pure fantasy.
Oh, it really does feel.
We're living in a very nasty time period, and it's being exacerbated by the tech bros. And we just have to get through it, and hopefully the the pendulum will swing back around, because fuck me, it's so debilitating.
And I don't want the pendulum to keep swinging. This is the thing. It feels like when the pendulum is swinging, it feels like there's an extra push when it gets to the end to make the swing the other way go further to the extreme. I just want the energy that's, being the energy to be reduced. That's going into the backswing. We'll say. We need to get it. We need to get it settled. We need to get things balanced a little bit again.
We do. I don't know.
It's a heady conversation. It's a heady conversation, Kevin. It's a heady conversation.
I also just want to say, we've gone through some ups and downs, like off mic, that has nothing to do with the podcast. But the fact that this podcast has been there as a constant this whole time, apart from that 6 months where we decided we can't do it anymore, we're exhausted, and we're back now. We're kind to each other. And look what we've created through that. And I don't think this podcast would have existed if we didn't have any grace towards each other. And I don't know what I'm talking about now. This was a great episode. I enjoyed that, Will.
It was good. It's always good. It's always good to have a good conversation. Listen, what can our listeners do to help us? We got no new reviews. I was so eager to get a review to be able to read out on air, and we didn't get a new review since our last episode dropped.
We did not.
Do it.
I don't know. I think people are kind of confounded by the idea of doing reviews. Also, I don't think all the apps allow people to do reviews. So I think if you're not listening to us on Spotify, or not listening to us on Apple, and maybe there are reviews out there and I'm unaware of them. They might be on some app that I'm not privy to. But regardless of that, do rate and review us if you can. Recommend this to people that you think might get a kick out of us. The other thing you can do is become a patron. We're going to be recording a bonus show later on talking about the latest shows we've been watching and other things. Those are really good crack. By becoming a patron, you get access to a Discord. You get well over 100 bonus shows. You'll get early access to these kind of episodes that are kind of unfiltered. And it makes a huge, huge difference, because it costs a lot of money to put a podcast out there. All these sort of ancillary costs to be able to release it on the patron side of things does help offset that and allows us to keep doing it. And also, you just get more of us. So become a patron.
Subscribe.
But thank you to all of our current patrons for making this
big time, please. Absolutely, wouldn't be able to do it without you. And all those, every review makes a huge difference. It shifts the needle on the dial, and it's nice to know that we're not just us talking to each other. Well, Chloe's here as well. I do know Chloe's here as well. So,
I mean, you can shut up.
Yeah, a great conversation, Kevin. I enjoyed that. Looking forward to the next one.
Ditto. Wrong genre. Amaze.
Very good. Goodbye.
Question.
Kevin's going hyperbolic.